Every footballer has his own opinion about the last years of his career. Some want to retire in their prime, and some do not mind to make more money and have a rest in a nice place. The United States is just the right place for it. Footballers have all they need here to enjoy the end of their career. Today we're going to tell you about the most famous players who moved to the MLS. But before we start, try and answer a question. Which of these footballers never played in the USA? Pelé, Franz Beckenbauer, Diego Maradona, Johan Cruyff. Kaká, Orlando City. The Brazilian had a great career in Europe and was one of the best in the world in his position. He spent his best years in AC Milan. In 6 years at San Siro, Kaká won a Scudetto, 2 Champions League titles and the Ballon d'Or in 2007. When he was 27, the player noticed Rossoneri losing their ambitions and decided to move to Real Madrid. At Santiago Bernabeu, the player lost his former status and was unable to meet expectations. In the 2013-14 season, the Brazilian had a short spell in AC Milan, after which he moved to the MLS to end his career. Many American clubs wanted to see the midfielder in their squad, but only Orlando City managed to persuade Kaká to terminate his contract with the Rossoneri and transfer as a free agent. In the USA, the midfielder immediately made an impact on the attack of the team. In 78 matches for Orlando, he scored 25 goals and made 19 assists. Interestingly, Kaká never received a direct red card before moving to the MLS, but here he was sent off not once, but twice. Overall, he spent 2 years in the United States, but was unable to win any club or individual trophy. In 2017, it became obvious Kaká wasn't going to extend his contract, and soon after he declared about ending his career. Wayne Rooney, DC United. This forward started his football career at Everton, where in just 2 seasons he managed to draw Sir Alex Ferguson's attention and moved to the Manchester United at the age of 19. He spent 13 long years at the club, becoming the top scorer in the history of the club. He scored 252 goals in 558 matches. In addition to that, Wayne won 5 Premier League titles, the Champions League, and various domestic cups with the Red Devils. In summer 2017, Rooney's contract came to an end, and the player decided to go back to Everton, but his spell at Goodison was not that long. A year later, the footballer left the team where he had started his career and moved to DC United. In the American team, the forward became a leader as expected and was quite effective. In 52 matches, he scored 25 goals and made 14 assists, but unfortunately, all his efforts did not bring him any trophies in the United States. Rooney's best match at DC United was the game against Orlando. At the end of the match, when the score was 2-2, Wayne's team went forward to grab the much-needed victory. But the opponents regained the ball and ran towards the open goals. Despite his age, the Englishman caught up with the opposition player, took the ball, and made a terrific assist to his teammate. However, in 2020, the forward left the American club and moved to Derby County as he was offered a playing manager role. But today Rooney is back to the MLS, where he is trying to win a trophy with DC United, but this time as a coach. Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Los Angeles Galaxy. Before moving to the US, the Swede played in Europe for such clubs as Malmo, Ajax, Juventus, Inter, Barcelona, AC Milan, PSG and Manchester United. He scored a vast number of goals at these clubs and proved himself as one of the best strikers on the planet. In 2018, the forward was playing in the English Premier League at the age of 36. If his first season at Man United was more or less efficient, in the second year he got an injury that put an end to Zlatan's career at Old Trafford. This is when the LA Galaxy option came up. It seemed like Zlatan moved there to end his career. Most of the footballers lose their motivation moving to the MLS and play relaxed, but Ibrahimovic, unlike others, kept working as hard as he could. In almost 2 years, the player scored 53 goals and made 15 assists in 58 matches. Many of those goals became real gems. He scored his 500th goal at Galaxy against Toronto, which was later nominated for the Puskás Award. Unfortunately, Ibra didn't win any trophies at LA, but the fans were totally happy with his game. In 2019, the player left the club. But he didn't retire as was expected. On the contrary, he decided to go for a new challenge and returned to AC Milan and plays there to date. Frank Lampard, New York City. This Englishman was considered one of the best goal-scoring midfielders in the world. During his 13-year spell at Chelsea, he became the club's top scorer with 211 goals. Also, the midfielder won 3 Premier League titles and the Champions League with the Blues. In 2014, Chelsea suddenly decided not to extend Frank's contract, allowing him to move to New York City as a free agent. After signing the contract, the club decided to loan Lampard out so he could gain some form before the preseason. The NYC owners were the same people that owned Manchester City, so the midfielder spent a short spell at the Etihad Stadium. Frank became an important player in Manuel Pellegrini's team, so the board decided to extend his loan until the end of the season, and this was when Frank scored that famous goal against Chelsea. But as soon as his contract was over, he completed his delayed move to New York City. At the American club, he was playing with stars like Andrea Pirlo and David Villa, but despite such loud names, the team didn't win a trophy. Though Frank showed his goal-scoring talent, sending the ball into the net 15 times in 31 matches. In 2017, the Englishman realized he was unable to play football anymore and decided to retire. Steven Gerrard, Los Angeles Galaxy. Gerrard spent his whole career at Liverpool, but he was not destined to make his dream come true and win the Premier League. In 2014, the player was so close to the trophy, but he made a fatal mistake in the match against Chelsea. That year, Steven decided to stay at the club for one more season, but after the terrible results of the 14-15 campaign, he realized it was time to give way to younger players. During his spell at Anfield, Steven was capped 708 times, scoring 158 goals and making 153 assists. He won the UEFA Cup, the Champions League, and many other trophies, except the Premier League, of course. Los Angeles Galaxy became the midfielder's new club, which was aiming to bring the title of the champions back to LA. However, the new signing didn't help the team reach its objectives. Though the Englishman brought some leadership into the team, his impact was not enough to win the MLS title. In his 2 years at the club, he scored 5 goals and made 15 assists. After that, he declared he was going to retire in 2017 against the desire of the board to extend his contract. Thierry Henry, New York Red Bulls. The Frenchman spent his best years in Arsenal. With the club, he won the Premier League twice and the Golden Boot Award 4 times. Besides all that, the winner of World Cup and European Championship is the club's top scorer with 228 goals for the Gunners. But in 2007, Henry left the Emirates, moving to Barcelona. Here he won the Champions League and several other domestic trophies. In the 2009-10 season, Thierry declined, scoring only 4 goals and making 2 assists in La Liga. It became obvious that the player's time at Camp Nou had come to an end. At the age of 33, the Frenchman was still wanted by clubs and could easily go to a European top club, but instead he chose New York Red Bulls. In his new team, Henry immediately became a leader and a top scorer. Mostly thanks to the forwards game, the club won the MLS twice in the beginning of the 2010s and also the Supporters' Shield. In the American club, Thierry played 122 matches, scored 51 goals and made 42 assists. In winter 2012, the Frenchman returned to Arsenal for a short loan spell. In the 68th minute, Henry was subbed in and 10 minutes later scored the winner. On February 17, 2012, Henry came back to New York. In 2013, the Frenchman once again was named the MLS Player of the Year by ESPN. However, a year later he announced he was leaving the club and a little later retired from football at the age of 37. Didier Drogba, Montreal Impact. The Ivorian spent his best years at Chelsea. During his 2 spells at the club, he won 4 Premier League titles and the Champions League. The player was considered one of the best strikers in the history of the Premier League. But in the summer 2015, he realized his age was becoming a problem and he could not keep up with the Premier League anymore. That's why, when Drogba's contract expired, he decided to leave Chelsea and move to Montreal Impact. At his new club, Didier immediately became a leader in the locker room. The club itself is based in a French-speaking region of Canada, so the player had no real problems with adaptation. Despite all these facts, the Ivorian stayed at the club for only 1 season. In 14 matches, during his spell he scored 12 goals and was nominated for the MLS Player of the Year award. But soon, the player had a conflict with the head coach Mauro Biello. As a result, Didier left for a more modest club, Phoenix Rising, that played in the 2nd division. He ended his career in 2018. David Beckham, Los Angeles Galaxy. The Englishman was one of the first players who set the trend of ending careers in the MLS. In his best years, the midfielder won the Champions League and 6 Premier League titles when playing for Manchester United. His spell at Real Madrid was less successful, but those years were not good for Los Blancos in general. However, the master of free kicks was one of the best players among the Galacticos. In Spain, he won La Liga and the Super Cup. After that, he moved to Los Angeles at the age of 32 to end his career there. David spent 5 years at the American club, winning the MLS twice. In 2008 and 2012, he was awarded the best player of the tournament. Overall, the footballer played 98 matches for Galaxy, scoring 18 goals and making 38 assists. After the 2012 triumph, Beckham announced his intention to leave LA. Sometime later, the Englishman found himself at PSG. He spent quite a short time there and ended his career. Interestingly, in a couple of years, Beckham founded his own MLS club. Inter Miami has been in the MLS since 2020, signing many world-class players. David Villa, New York City. In Spain, Villa was considered one of the best forwards and always showed an efficient game. He played for clubs like Zaragoza, Valencia, Barcelona and Atletico, scoring 186 goals in La Liga. Considering trophies, he has 3 La Liga titles. But the biggest trophy was of course the Champions League title he won with Barcelona. Let's not forget about the World Cup and the Euro Cup. Villa won both of them with the Spain national team. In Euro 2008, Villa won the Golden Boot, becoming the top scorer with 4 goals. In 2014, David left Atletico Madrid and moved to New York City. The player spent 4 years at the American club and was still scoring a lot of goals. The Spaniard was one of the best in the MLS. In 124 matches, he scored 80 goals. Unfortunately, those goals were not enough for the city to win any trophy. But in 2016, the forward received an individual trophy, becoming the most valuable player of the season. In 2018, Villa decided to leave the US and move to Japan. The forward spent 2 more years at Vissel Kobe and then retired. Andrea Pirlo, New York City. Pirlo spent his best years at 2 clubs, AC Milan and Juventus. With the Rossoneri, the midfielder won 2 Scudettos and the Champions League. In 2011, it turned out he was useless to the team and left as a free agent to the Old Lady. At the moment of the transfer, Pirlo was 32, but despite his age, the footballer was one of the best registas on the planet. Andrea spent 4 years in Juventus, showing top football and proving that they had been wrong at San Siro. The Italian won 4 Scudettos with Juventus and could leave after winning the Champions League, but unfortunately Barcelona was more successful in the final match in Berlin. After that match, it became known that the 2006 world champion is planning to end his career in the MLS, joining New York City. Playing side by side with stars like Frank Lampard and David Villa, the midfielder spent only 2 years at the American club. During that spell, Andrea played 60 matches in the MLS, scoring 1 goal and making 18 assists. Unfortunately, New York didn't win any trophies despite the big names in their squad. In October 2017, Pirlo announced his retirement. In his last match, the footballer helped his teammates celebrate a victory against Columbus Crew and retired victorious. Gonzalo Higuaín, Inter Miami. The Argentinian striker played for Real Madrid, Napoli, Juventus, AC Milan and Chelsea. At all these clubs, the footballer won 14 trophies, but he made his name thanks to the number of goals he scored. Since 2006, Gonzalo has scored 257 goals in 484 matches and can rightfully be named as one of the best strikers in the world. After Maurizio Sarri left Juventus in summer 2020, Higuaín became useless for the old lady. That's why he joined David Beckham's club, Inter Miami. For some time, Gonzalo played in the new team with his brother Federico. To date, Higuaín has played 56 matches for the club and scored 20 goals, but hasn't won any trophies yet. But the footballer still has time to make things better. Higuaín's father recently talked about his son's intention to end his career by the end of 2022, so the striker still has a chance to retire victorious. Giorgio Chiellini, Gareth Bale, Los Angeles. Both of these players are the most recent examples of European stars moving to the MLS. Chiellini spent his best years at Juventus, winning Scudetto 9 times. Also last year, Giorgio was among the Italian players who won the Euro 2020 title. Basically, had Squadra Azzurra qualified for the World Cup in Qatar, the defender would have been playing for the national team in the next season for sure. But Mancini's team sensationally lost to North Macedonia and got relegated from the playoffs. Juve's captain said goodbye to the fans by the end of the season and signed a 1-year deal with Los Angeles, where he will play with Gareth Bale, a player whom he faced many times when Juve played against Real Madrid. The Welshman didn't play well for Los Blancos for several years, but during his spell in Madrid, he had a huge contribution in winning 5 Champions League titles as he scored in 2 finals. This summer, his agreement with Real Madrid came to an end, and the midfielder also joined Los Angeles for 1 year. Most probably, both footballers will retire after their contracts expire. At least, Bale has hinted he wants to hang his boots after the World Cup. Sooner or later, every footballer thinks about the way he wants to end his professional career. Many older players do not get high wages, that's why the move to the MLS can bring them some extra money. Friends, which player from our list could stay longer in Europe? Let us know your opinion in the comments, we'll be happy to read them. Thank you.